Hey, welcome to Promo Insiders, a podcast from Counselor Magazine. I'm Chris Ruvo with Counselor. I'm joined today by my colleague, John Corrigan. He is a senior writer for Counselor Magazine. John, how you doing?
Good, Chris. How are you?
Yeah, pretty good, pretty good. The topic of our discussion today is kind of ironic, I think, given the forum that we're doing it through, and that's mental health on social media. It's obviously a big deal, right, and has been for years, but is even more so now, I think, during the COVID-19 pandemic, where we're all kind of spending more time scrolling, or all kind of spending more time engaged with our feeds. And that's brought with it a new level of kind of stress, I think, and anxiety. Partly
Absolutely.
tied to what's happening in society, partly tied to the pandemic, and all partly kind of wrapped up with our increased use of social media. And John, we're going to jump into the questions here real quick, but I'll briefly say, for anybody who's watching, please comment, put in questions. We're happy to try to respond to those. We'd love to have your feedback. So John, you did a story on this topic on mental health and social media. And just what was the genesis of that? What kind of prompted it? How did it come together?
Well, I've been thinking about it for a while. I mean, everything that you've said is so true. And I feel that I've talked to other people, my friends, my family, coworkers, people that I follow on social media.
Mhm.
And, you see that they're burnout. It seems like every time you go on now, there's bad news. Just you're scrolling through all these kinds of stories. Everything's highly opinionated. And it's social media, at least, when I got on probably 10 years ago, it was supposed to be fun. Like that was
Right.
the goal of this.
Right.
And it's not like that anymore.
Yeah.
So
It can feel like a battleground, like a
absolutely,
digital battleground, so to speak.
like you always have to be on the defense, like
Hmm.
for your opinions, for I guess how you feel, and I guess that also depends on who you follow and all that. But we'll get into that.
Hmm.
So just the fact, like you said, you have the coronavirus, you have the protest, you have the election. I mean, there's just so many heated topics, heated discussion. Masks versus anti-masks, businesses being shut down. Everywhere you look, I mean, it's tough. It's not recipes anymore or cat pictures or anything like that.
Right. Right.
It's
Right.
it's it's craziness. And so I wanted to reach out because I personally have been thinking about stepping away. I know a few of my friends have deactivated their Facebook.
Hmm.
I don't go on there much anyway. The only thing I really go on is Twitter and LinkedIn.
Okay.
So I said, LinkedIn, I personally, other people may disagree, I personally don't see a lot of news stories or a lot of that stuff on LinkedIn.
Hmm.
I see it more as a professional posts or people building their brand, stuff like that.
Okay.
But Twitter, I mean, you don't know what you're going to see.
No. It's a free for all. It's
Yeah,
probably the one that at least me, I shouldn't say everybody, but that I have in mind when I think of like where it's maybe the most toxic,
yeah.
at least from my experience.
And you also can't really control it all because things that people like still pop up in your feed. Whereas I feel like you have more control on Facebook. If you don't like something or follow something on Facebook, if it's not a promoted post, you're probably not going to see it.
Hmm.
But Twitter, you can see literally anything, and most of it is to stir an opinion out of you. So I thought about getting rid of everything, but then I said, obviously, with our job and what we do and
Hmm.
sharing stories, that I don't know how, and who knows how long I would really stay away.
Yeah.
So, but
Well,
then I figured,
that's a good point, right? Is that
yeah,
there's people like us and many in our industry, salespeople, marketers, executives who just kind of want to have a personal brand out there. It's a matter of their livelihood to be
exactly.
engaged to a degree on social media. So it's not as simple as just, hey, I don't like this and I'm going to tune it out. You can't do that.
Especially because with the stuff that we write about, we stress the importance of having social media and
Hmm.
putting your brand on all these different platforms, finding where your customer is. So it's like this necessary evil, and it didn't used to be. And I guess that was my point: is how are all these people who are literally paid to be on there for many hours of the day to engage with clients, to engage with their customers? How are they handling it? And the industry, I think, reacted the same way you and I probably feel. everybody's got fatigue. Everybody's trying to make their way through it, but they also offered a lot of good tips.
All right, well, we're going to get into those tips. And if you have questions about tips, again, please comment, ask questions. We'd be happy to respond if we have something intelligent to say. Hopefully we will. But the stressors that you mentioned there and the negative impacts, can you discuss those a little bit? Like, did you talk to folks who kind of said this is how it affects us psychologically or anything like that?
Absolutely. I mean, a lot of people feel that when they go on, like I said, they're on the defense. That who was it? It was Brittany Godsey from Gold Bond.
Gold Bond, yep.
Specifically mentioned how, before all of this, they would just brainstorm an idea to post on social media, whether to push a product or start a campaign or even just to engage with their followers. And it would be fun and they would do it. Now they sit there and they have to really do their due diligence to make sure that whatever they post cannot be misconstrued or perceived in a different way that could be offensive to someone.
Okay.
And it takes up time and it stifles their creativity. And, it's just not conducive to, I guess, for a business to promote themselves and to connect with clients. And so it's kind of been like these hurdles of for your brand. And then, like you said, psychologically, very negative. I mean, it's just, you need to get outside and get some fresh air. You need to step away because you're just seeing news articles that could have misinformation. Because that was another thing that we touched on in the article is, social media is where people go for their news now. That's where stories break. But at the same time, you don't know if it's verified. You don't know what you're seeing, if it's true. So you're having all this information bombarded on you, and you have to try and filter it out. And if you're just constantly taking in this information, it's going to become unhealthy. It's going to be too much. You're going to be stuffed with just things that you can't control.
All right. So, but the good thing is, and this is one of the, I think the top points of your article, and again, this is not Chris and John speaking. This is people who are experts in this and do this every day, right? That they recommend that you, quote, sanitize your feed. Can you talk a little bit about what that means and kind of how that looks?
Absolutely. I have to give a shout out to Charity Gibson, who is watching and is in our chat. She coined that phrase when I spoke with her. And I think the best way to describe it is you want to clean your feed. You want to get rid of all the negativity. You want to scrub down all the dirt, all the grime, all the things that you see that make you feel bad. And that doesn't necessarily mean we ignore constructive criticism. That's not what the point is. The point is you go on there and you spend so much time, you'll get a dark view of the world. And that's not necessarily the case. And so sanitizing your feed means, maybe you unfollow certain people that, maybe you're friends with them, but maybe they just post political things you don't agree with and it riles you up. Well, maybe it's not healthy for the friendship for you to stay on there. You unfollow.
I have to interject quickly. I can think of, and I won't name names, but I can think of people with whom I have wonderful in-person relationships. I like them so much, and then they have a completely different persona on their social media, and I think they're obnoxious, and I can't stand them. But anyway, go ahead. So I'm doing a little sanitizing myself.
but how do you handle that? Do you unfollow them? Do you mute them? What do you do to try and fix that?
So that's a good question. So if it's like friends, like personal friends with whom I have like no real professional context, I will. Yeah, I will. Yeah. I will unfollow them. Yeah, and
it's nothing personal.
Yeah, it's just that it's like, hey, I like you, and your social media posts are kind of making me not like you so much. So I will do that. If it's a professional connection, that it's important to have. I'm probably not unfollowing, to be honest.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, but muting is an option, at least on Twitter.
Sure.
I don't know for sure whether on Facebook or Instagram. I don't have an Instagram either, so I don't know if you can mute or even if that's a place where all these things kind of happen. But I think just, like you said, I mean, if it's a friend or family or something, obviously you're not going to cut them out of your life because of what they believe in. But at the same time, you becoming their friend, it wasn't like a 24/7 invite into their thoughts, and
right.
That's what social media is.
Right.
So it's like you kind of have to navigate this.
Okay.
And it can be tough, but that is part of sanitizing the feed. For me, I think of like celebrities or sports figures or entertainers who, because of it's an election season, got very political.
Mhm.
And I think of it as like, I didn't choose to follow you because of your thoughts.
Right.
I'm only here for one part of your aspect. And so that's the type of thing that's part of sanitizing. You're doing it to clean up how you feel.
Mhm. All right, so if I had to proceed with this practically, it sounds like what you want to do to quote sanitize your feed is you kind of want to look at if there's consistently accounts that are kind of just drawing your ire or things of that nature, and you want to kind of want to weed them out. There may be, again, if you're doing this professionally, there may be some that you do have to keep tabs on, regardless. But it sounds like to the extent that you can, you should almost like taking like doing a spring cleaning. You assess, all right, these are some of the projects we want to accomplish this season, and you kind of make that list and you got to go through accomplishing it. Maybe it's a similar thing with sanitizing your feed. It's okay, these are the types of accounts and types of people that are kind of getting under my skin and making this not as good an experience as it should be. And I could start to look to move some of those accounts, out of my eyes, basically.
Absolutely. And another thing is limit your exposure to them. If you don't want to cut them out altogether, you can mute certain things, you can mute certain words, or spend less time on social media to begin with. That can be tough if you're a business, but at the same time, you're not looking, unless you are a social media manager. If,
Mhm.
if you, if you run your own social media for your business, don't get bogged down on it all day. Set aside some time. I will tell you that Ann Baden of Innovate Tech Solutions has a great idea that I'm going to start using.
Mhm.
That she set up a file on her, I guess her desktop,
Mhm.
for all COVID related stories. That if she's scrolling Facebook or Twitter and she sees them, she will click on it. She will then not read it. She will take the link and put it into the file, and then at a certain designated time of the day, she will then go back and read. So, most importantly, she's informed,
Mhm.
but at the same time, she's not spending all day doing it. She's not getting distracted. She's not letting it,
She's not inundated with gloom from it. Yeah.
exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
And that is, I think, a great idea, and that people can use that same concept for, if you don't want to look at, election stuff or the protest or any other topic that you feel is just too controversial for you to be, like you said, inundated every day.
Mhm.
Then I think that's a good idea to do. Limit yourself, your exposure to it to maybe 15, 20 minutes a day,
Okay.
or every other day, whatever works for you.
All right. The basic point is try to have designated times if possible, and don't scroll passively. Don't just be checking into what's going on, what's going on. You want to kind of go there with an active purpose, and that could help limit the amount of time that you're exposed to negative material, but still maybe allow you to do the things that you need to do professionally.
Absolutely.
All right, got it. So let's switch gears a little bit, because to an extent, what we've talked about so far is negation, if you will. It's things that, hey, you could get rid of or do less of. But it's not just all about negation, right? It's also about, hey, there's some positive steps I can take too to kind of improve the social media experience and just make it a more positive overall experience, right? So what are some of those things, John?
Well, because eventually everyone's going to piss you off, so
Mhm.
you're going to end up cutting everybody out. You'll have nobody to follow, and that's not the point.
Right.
So you want to follow people and brands and accounts that post positive things or
Hmm.
things that make you happy, or things that I think Charity said it. She has like a whole little list.
Hmm.
Things that'll make me money, things that'll inspire me, things that'll make me laugh.
Hmm.
Look for this. I mean, that's what we're looking for in life, and that's what you're looking for in social media. So that's what you want to do. Get rid of the negative, fill it up with the positive. For me, at a certain point in the summer, I was just getting so tired of all the bad news. I
Hmm.
specifically looked up Twitter accounts that only share good news.
Okay.
And, I've yet to actually click on one of those stories.
See, that's the problem, though.
That is the
The
problem.
bad stuff is what gets the clicks and engagement a lot of the time.
But to me, I feel better just scrolling through and seeing at least the headline and knowing
Mhm.
that something good's happening somewhere in the world, that it's not all terrible.
Yeah.
And I think that's important. Also, like we said about taking breaks, in social media managers, Cody Belknap from Snugs,
Hmm.
he stressed the importance of taking a break. Whether you go on a walk at lunch, maybe you stop at 5 o'clock, you hit a hard deadline, you spend the night with your family.
Hmm.
You do some kind of thing where you are not stuck on the screen looking at this every day. It's
Hmm.
just not good for you. You need to take some breaks. Also, these breaks will recharge you. You'll come in with a different perspective, and you can share that with your followers.
It's a great point, and I'm thinking about social media manager that we work with at ASI, Melissa Newman, who does an absolutely fantastic job. And I know one of the things she has expressed, and others in the position, is that it can be tough to turn off, right?
Yeah.
Because there's an expectation that, hey, this is your job, and social, there's no boundaries, right? Like something negative or bad, say about your company or you, can crop up at any time. So you're feeling that urge to, oh, I just got to go check. I just got to go check. So is there a way to stay in touch? And I'm not sure there's an answer to this question, but is there a way to make sure that you're kind of keeping tabs on all that, but without literally feeling like you have to work 24/7 and be like a 24/7, sieve for every comment about you or your company?
I'm not sure if there is either.
Yeah.
Cody says you have to, though. He
Yeah.
says that, like, even though you may feel that way,
Hmm.
burnout is inevitable. I mean, we're
Right.
human. It's not, and that's what people forget. I think when they post these things, like you'll go on Twitter or something and you'll complain about a company. Yeah, I see this all the time with airlines when people have a problem with their flight or something, and obviously, it's the heat of the moment. It's very important to you,
Hmm.
but there's somebody on the other,
Yeah.
there's a human being that has to see all these terrible things you say about them,
Hmm.
and I think people, because it's so anonymous and not face to face and not, you know, actual human interaction, people forget, they forget manners, they forget courtesy. They, like, people would certainly not, you wouldn't do that to your mailman who you see every day.
Right. Sure.
It's just, I think that's the way it is. And I really don't know how social media managers like Melissa, how she, I assume, if it was me, there'd be copious amounts of alcohol in order to deal with all this.
Right.
But I don't know what other people do
Well,
because
it sounds like the point that came across in your reporting is that, like, uh, uh, you know, at the end of the day, you're entitled to have a life too,
right.
and that there you do have to set parameters to the extent possible. Maybe those parameters are fluid. Maybe if, hey, there's, I don't know, I, a controversial piece of content going up, or there was an issue with a big order, say, and there might be some blowback on social. Well, maybe then you do have to be engaged during some hours that you wouldn't necessarily want to be engaged, but you can make that up somewhere else. If there's if
Right.
there's if there's quieter times, then, hey, like, try to take that disengagement then, right? Like, just, it might take a little strategizing, and it might take a little bit of adaptability, and it might not always be able to, okay, at 5:30 I shut down, and I don't have to worry about this until the morning, or later tonight, whatever it might be. But there's going to be times where you're going to have, where it's good, that are going to be quieter, and it's important to take advantage of those times to just give yourself a break. And by a break, it means put the phone down, put the tablet down, whatever it might be, engage with humans, go outside, do something that stimulates you, that's not plugged into a social network. So that sounds like the approach that Cody was suggesting, and some
Absolutely.
others too. Yeah. So, but still, when you are on social, right? Hey, you're engaged, you're there. You started to make this point, and I like it. It's basically, one thing you could do is not be an ass, quite frankly. Like, I mean, in layman's terms, right?
Yeah.
That's one thing, but there's probably other stuff you could do, right, too, to just kind of bring a positive vibe to social media.
Absolutely. And I think that's what our industry, promotional products, probably does better than any other.
Hmm.
So many of these companies are so creative and they're so engaged with their customers. And we've seen this perhaps better than ever during the pandemic when everybody was at home and there was so much fear out there, and everybody had more time, and they needed a release. They needed a creative outlet. I'm going to give you some examples. Alpha Broder Primeline. They, kind of put their employees that maybe you wouldn't necessarily call them the face of the company.
Okay.
Maybe they have some background positions. They put them out there. They encourage them to share what's going on at home, what they're doing to combat this, what they're doing, to hang out with their families. And they had some great ideas. Beth Bellick, she is an outside sales consultant. She shared her snack mix recipe, which apparently blew up on the page. Everybody was loving it.
Okay.
Steve Meldrum.
Check that out.
Yeah. Oh, it looked good. It looked delicious.
Yeah.
Steve Meldrum, a sales rep. He was talking about, where he's working from home. Well, he's got, beautiful day by the pool. He's sitting there relaxing. Everybody was commenting they're jealous. And just everybody would then share where they're working from home. Things like that it's a break from the news. It's a break from everything. And it's still important because everybody's going through all this still. I mean, I don't know if any single person has fully become adjusted to what we are now going through. So it's good because social media, you're supposed to connect. Now we're connecting with people and sharing our own experiences. And then you have Jeremy Picker of AMB3R.
Yeah.
He follows, Gary Vaynerchuk.
Sure. Yeah.
So Jeremy follows his mantra of create, don't consume. So like we said earlier about the importance of not just taking everybody off your feed, don't just delete everything or don't just, consume everything. If you want to see positive stories, positive content out on social media, you should create it. You should make it yourself. And he's seen a lot of success with that as well. And I think that, other people in the industry can definitely follow that lead.
Yeah, I think there's so much room for that because, one thing that happened, John, is after you put this article out initially on this topic, you got a lot of feedback, and the article, it did very well. It got and is continuing to get a lot of views, and we were getting feedback from people on it. So it's hit a chord. So what that tells us is that a lot of people are kind of having these same emotions about the negative impacts of social media. So if a lot of people are feeling that way, you would think that Jeremy's really hit on something there, that like, hey, if a lot of people are feeling negative and I'm bringing something positive, now it has to be, sincere. Like you can't come across like saccharine, or like, it can't be like, if that's not your vibe or whatever, and you're trying to be that, it's probably going to show through, but draw on to the extent that you can, draw on those things that influence you positively and share them in a way, because there's a good chance that that's going to impact others and influence others and lift others up.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Jeremy, he also, it's not just like sharing inspirational messages or anything like that. It's also, put some value out there. This is a chance. Social media is an outlet for you to help your customers, your clients, your followers. I mean, this is a chance. He went on LinkedIn. He took this idea from Danny Rosen of Brand Fuel. He offered to help people polish up their resumes, write LinkedIn recommendations for them, or even just hop on the phone to chat with them in case whatever's going on in their life. Because so many people, going through so much right now with being laid off or furloughed or things with their family, people getting sick. So, I mean, it's there. Social media is a tool for you. At the end of the day, for businesses, it's a tool for you to really grow your business, connect with people. And then for the rest of us who are on it to either promote things, but mostly for leisure, remember that it's for leisure, that it's not supposed to be this cesspool of negativity that it has become over the past few months. Let's remember that at the end of the day, it's supposed to be fun.
Yeah. All right. That's all great points. And I hope somebody or people who are listening could hear my cat meowing in the background. I thought I'd got her out of the room. So that's hopefully a little bit of fun and positivity for everybody there. It looks like she wants to go out now. So we'll tend to that in a few minutes. But first things first, there's kind of a few more tips we wanted to go over real quick, right? And a lot of this we kind of said already, but maybe it's like just quick takeaways for you. Turn off your phone at certain times of the day, if possible. I guess if you're a social media manager, turning off notifications is probably not the best way to go. But if social's not, a 24/7 integral part of your job, but it's just a smaller part of your job. Maybe turn off notifications. That allows you greater control over when you're going to, see and engage with things. Be purposeful about your social media use, right? Don't just, hey, I'm bored for a second, I'm going to check the scroll. Try to go there at certain times with a purpose. Okay, I'm looking for certain information. I'm looking for what's going on with certain accounts or things of that nature. Try to use it actively as opposed to just passively scrolling, because it's when you're passively scrolling that you kind of just, it's almost like you're vulnerable or susceptible to letting more of that, the crap in, for lack of a better term. So that's another thing to keep in mind. You know what really, and I am so guilty of this. Like, don't take your tablet or your phone to bed with you. Like, really, like, the worst thing you could do is be blasting your eyes with blue light, after what's already probably been a 9 or 10 hour work day, and reading through, negative things on social media right before you go to sleep, because it's probably going to disrupt your sleep, or even if you don't fully realize it, cause a degree of anxiety, that then permeates the night, and then it starts you off that much worse the next day. So kind of just don't do that when you go to bed. Put it down, and you're allowed to sleep, and in the morning re-engage with it. Another thing, and this is more just, this isn't even particular to business. It really, I think, pertains a lot to just any kind of social media for professional or personal uses. It's human nature to compare, right? Oh, this person has this or is doing this. I'm not doing that. Like, and then you get bummed out. Really try not to engage in that kind of thinking with social media. And it can be hard because there are people out there who are trying to build themselves up and aggrandize their experience and make their life seems like it's the most amazing thing. And I think that could be hurtful for some, but it's important to not do that, right? And a way to not do that, I think, is to just start with being happy with a lot of the good things you have, and for having gratitude for the good things in your life. So now we're getting a little deeper and more, I don't know, existential or whatever you want to call it. But really, it's a smart mentality. It's almost like you have to consciously say or mindfully say, hey, like I'm not going here to see what so-and-so is doing, and oh, they have it better than me, or this company's doing better than me. You go to social media for strategic purposes, in your professional life, and in your personal, go for things that are going to make you happy. Lastly, for the people that you really find on social media that you're connecting with, who are bringing positivity, who you have a certain like-mindedness with, engage more and more with them, and see how you could build each other up, and see what kind of, in a professional sense, partnerships might spin out of that, because that will make the experience a lot more like fun and meaningful and good, because it's not going to be you're passively scrolling through garbage. You're now going to Twitter, say, and you're engaging with a few fun people. You mentioned Jeremy Picker before. I love going back and forth with him on Twitter. I think he's such a positive guy. He's smart. He's creative. I love seeing what he's up to. So that would just be one example of somebody whose posts I look out for in a positive way. So I would just encourage everybody to kind of do more with that. John, did you have any takeaways you wanted to go over?
No, but I think our next thing should be a list of the accounts that we like. I think that's a good idea. Like you said,
Right,
Jeremy's a good one.
I'll tell you what, you can work on that one. Okay.
No, I mean, Michelle's on some list every year I see. I think we can get our own list going. I think it would be fun.
All right, very good. All right, we'll stay tuned for that. We'll try to get that out. John Corrigan, senior writer for Counselor and Advantages magazine. Thanks so much for doing this article, and then for just chatting it out with everybody here today. We hope those tips were helpful, and we'll be posting this online. So if you didn't get to listen to the live, no worries, you're listening to it. All right, John, thanks so much.
Thank you, Chris.